All right, everybody, I think we're going to get started. So I want to say Shabbat Shalom and Sukkot Shalom, Chag Sameach, and I hope that everyone that is here just not only enjoys the service and these incredible young people, but just being outside on a beautiful evening. It's kind of how we're supposed to spend Sukkot, is being outdoors. So this makes lots of sense, not only from a public health perspective, but also from a seasonal perspective, and just because it's good to soak up, the outdoors whenever we can. I want to say welcome, Bruchim Habaim, to all the people who are streaming this service, people who will watch it eventually as a video. We've got all different kinds of ways now to be part of services. Welcome to the family and extended family of our confirmands, our confirmation students, and welcome to members of CRC who showed up because this is the place to be on a Friday night. We have a special Siddur just for this confirmation service, and so if you'll open the books to page 2, this is another way of welcoming each other, to say how good it is, Tov, and Na'im, which means pleasant, when we gather together. Ma tov, u'manayim, shevet achim, gam yachad, hine ma tov, u'manayim, shevet achim, gam yachad. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. Try that. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. That part was not in the original prayer, but this part. Shevet achim, gam yachad. One more time. Hine ma tov, u'manayim. Shevet achim, gam yachad. So I'm going to ask somebody very special to CRC and to these students in particular to come up to light candles, but also to speak to this class. This is Maura Maxine, who not only, for sure, Maura Maxine, who not only has been the director of lifelong learning for most of the years of these guys' religious education, which is being confirmed this evening, but also took them, was one of the staff from CRC that took them to Washington, D.C. when they were 9th graders, which was 2 years ago. It's kind of hard to keep track because they're 11th graders now, 9th graders then. And believe me, and Rabbi Daniel was there, and they talk about that trip all the time. That trip, I know, made a big impact on them just before lockdown. Parents probably remember that trip came back just before we all locked down for a while. So, Maura Maxine, it's all yours.
There's matches there if you want.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher gidshon b'mitzvotav, v'tzivonu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
wish each other a good Shabbos. Maura Maxine, want to come up here? Come up here. No. You were gonna say something to them? Yeah. Because I got that. Leave those there. She needs her prop. Okay.
So, please excuse my back if that's to anyone, but it's so exciting to see all of you tonight because it's pretty much the first time in 20 months that I'm seeing a bunch of you. I guess I saw you last year when I joined the confirmation class. But 20 months ago, on March 4th of 2020, was my introduction to Purell and to all of you as we boarded a plane, and I passed out Clorox wipes for the seat belts and the backs of the chairs and the armrests because Rabbi Karen and I knew, and Rabbi Daniel, that there was a virus going around and that we needed to be extra careful. I was a little grossed out when some of you chose to sit on the stairs coming up from the subway, and the entire time we spent the weekend hosing you down with Purell. But it was just, I co-taught 9th grade with Rabbi Daniel, and that entire year from the classes and studying with you and watching you write your speeches and present and talk with our representatives in DC to visiting the monuments and sharing Shabbat together just was so heartwarming, so fulfilling. And for many of you, you've stayed engaged throughout the pandemic, not only with confirmation class, but being on the team that works with the technology and also as Madrachim. And I feel so honored and blessed to have all of you in my life. I've enjoyed being a part of your lives for many of you since you were in 3rd and 4th grade. And it's just such an honor to be a part of your confirmation ceremony tonight. When Rabbi Randy and I thought that in May that we would postpone to Sukkot, our vision was to be inside the sanctuary and then have an oneg in the sukkah. But I think that this is going to be very memorable, and I hope this tonight, the memories of tonight last in your hearts for a long, long time.
So we're going to sort of do something a little unorthodox, unusual for CRC. But even for us, we're going to do the confirmation presentations first, rather than when we usually do them last, just because you guys are so special. We want to make sure that when they speak to you, which they will, one by one, they do it as students who have been confirmed. So this class, as you can tell by the cover, it's proportional. We met on Zoom far more than we met in person. But the Zoom meetings, much to my surprise, were delightful. We explored the many ways that there are to have a Jewish journey, spiritual and cultural and activist and ethical and more, and hybrids of those and hybrids of hybrids. And I love that it's Sukkot, as I said, because we're supposed to be outside during this holiday, which mirrors the increased outside time we've had during the entire pandemic. The only times we met in person in the spring were when we were out here. With our temporary huts, there's our sukkah right over there. Sukkot is partly about fragility, but it is also about pushing ourselves to connect with nature and to connect with one another, so that though the fragility, and we certainly know at this point that the world is fragile, the connections we make us stronger even through that fragility. I look at this class, and I know every single one of you, not just from last year with confirmation, but because of our long-term connections with one another. Most of you I met when you were literally babies. Bar and Bat Mitzvah is an individual moment. Confirmation is communal. And while these students come from really so many different school districts, this might be our most geographically diverse class that we've ever had at CRC. Different schools, different neighborhoods, they've really bonded through their years of being at religious school at CRC and teen program. So tomorrow morning, right here in this very spot, we will celebrate consecration, which marks the beginning of a young person's religious school journey. How many parents remember their consecrations when they were kindergarten students? Yeah. Confirmation marks the conclusion of formal Jewish youth education and sends you guys off to carry on at your own pace with hopes that you will bring all that has been meaningful to you, all that has been meaningful that you have learned here about Judaism, ethics, and spirituality, and bring it into your wide open and amazing futures. From consecration to confirmation, as a parent who went through both and now has 2 children in their 20s, consecration to confirmation in the blink of an eye. So here we go. Maura Maxine, it'll call each of you up, and you'll receive your certificate and a Tanakh with your name on it, a Hebrew Bible, a gift from CRC, your synagogue, to each of you.
Isabella Bamaker. Dryden Bonner. Trudy Cohen. Theodore Elfenbein, or Theo, as I like to call him. Izzy Erdman Isabel. Benjamin Horowitz, who was, and he's the one that said when we said we're going to elbow bump, he goes, no, we're hugging. As they tower over me. Delilah Huck. Cooper Rutledge. Graham Sagal. Benjamin Seawalk. This is a class of the Benjamins.
It is.
And Benjamin Thamagu. Or Benji.
That's everybody. Right? This is the confirmation class of 5781. Mazel tov. So as you might have kind of seen as you peruse through the Siddur, this service is going to be short on prayers and long on reflections by each of our confirmation students. We're kind of cutting to the quick here. We want to hear from the students, and they will be the liturgy of this service. But I did want to sing one song with Andrew and Leslie on page 3. It's a traditional song that's sung around Shabbat tables. It's a song of greeting, and it's also a song about angels. And if you ask me, the angels are right behind me and right in front of me, and so we're greeting each other as our most angelic selves.
Shalom Alechem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon,
The theme of class was Jewish journeys, and so I asked the students if they would reflect, however they defined it, on their Jewish journey so far, and maybe some thoughts of where it's going to go into the future. They were open and honest and uncensored, as it should be, right? So we're just going to start and kind of see where your name is and come on up, and here we go.
Hello. Okay. I love being Jewish. I love the excitement I feel when I hear that one of my favorite actors is Jewish. I love the boredom I feel sitting in a long service. I love the community I have. I love the nostalgia that CRC's challah and apple juice gives me. I love knowing that I'm supported. I love feeling comfortable enough to question my beliefs. I love the music. I love looking at the Friday night candles. I love knowing how to read Hebrew even though I don't know what I'm saying. I love talking about Jewish foods with my family. I love the Yiddish phrases my family uses. I love the traditions. I love finding the afikomen. I love receiving and giving Hanukkah gifts. I love watching my favorite Passover song on YouTube, 20 Things to Do with Matzah. I love attempting to fast but getting too hangry. I love going to bar and bat mitzvahs and getting excited over the party favors. I love the friends I've made. I love doing mitzvahs. I love the excitement and fear you feel being on the bima. I love leaving services multiple times to go to the bathroom. I love learning about people who are more religious or practice Judaism in a different way. I love eating bagels. I love my Jewish nose, even though the Jewish nose is a myth. I love that people can tell I'm Jewish by my last name. I love being proud to be a Jew, and I truly just love being Jewish.
Ever since I was 7, I attended Camp Ramah in California. I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with Camp Ramah in California, but it's a Jewish overnight camp. As a young camper, there's like some prayer and study, but as you grow and become the age of a bar mitzvah, the camp feels in many ways as though it's like a Orthodox camp. Every morning when we davened for multiple hours, we were required to both wear tefillin and a talis. We even read the Torah on Mondays and Thursdays. Although this may seem normal to a lot of like longtime conservative Jews, as a 13 to 14-year-old boy, it felt extremely boring, and I'd rather like spend time with my friends and playing sports, just doing normal camp things. This intense level of prayer and Jewish study was certainly a turnoff and not something I look forward to each and every summer. So you may be wondering why I just ranted about my negative Jewish camping experience. I'm writing about Ramah because it truthfully is the root of my Jewish identity and learning. In spite of the constant praying at camp multiple times a day, 7 days a week, I learned a lot about Judaism. We studied Torah, many midrashim, and a lot about Israel. At the time, I did not realize how big of an impact this had on me, both as a teenager and a Jew. For example, due to my Jewish learning at the camp, I can now tell others about many Jewish traditions and answer many of the questions that they have about Judaism. Some of the questions are as follows. Why do you wear that thing on your head? The Jew hat. Is Hanukkah Jewish Christmas? And why is this night different from all other nights? Looking back at my camping experience as a more mature person, on the contrary to what all my brothers say, I have come to realize how much of an impact camp has really made on me. I can appreciate my experience and squeeze the positivity out of it, despite my negative attitude at the time. This idea of finding positivity out of seemingly negative experiences can be applied to many things in life. For example, even though working out may suck at the time, once you think about the bigger picture, you can realize how important it truly is to you. So the next time you have a negative experience, try to think about what good can come out of it. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
I have never liked religion. Throughout history, religion has justified horrific actions, and even though most of these horrific actions have been committed against the Jews, we are not devoid of terrible actions ourselves. The Jewish theory of being the chosen people meant to be in the promised land has justified the inhumane treatment of the Palestinian people today. This is ironically depressing, because Jews have always been the one to experience prejudice and xenophobia, and now we are the ones doing it to others. It seems that we haven't learned any lessons from over 2,000 years of our history. Even more ironically depressing is that there is xenophobia and racism in Israel against Ethiopian Jews because of the color of their skin. Hating others is bad enough. Why would you hate your own? This is the problem I have with Judaism. We are hypocrites. We believe that God created everyone in God's own image, but we hate others. We have been oppressed for thousands of years, but now we are the oppressor. That is why I hate Judaism. Now let me tell you about why I love Judaism. I love the sense of community that it has created. I love the deep, meaningful connections that I can make here that I can't make anywhere else. I love that I can connect with someone that I haven't seen since 4th grade and have a whole conversation that stems around the one thing that I remember about them. I love the good that this congregation does for its community, like providing resources for the less fortunate, protesting injustice, and providing a literal and metaphorical shelter of peace for you, those you love, and strangers in need. I love that we are not taught to think of Judaism as a rigid truth that we must follow. We are taught that everyone has their own Judaism, and everyone's own Judaism or Jewish identity is malleable to their own experiences and their own worldview. We are taught to have an open mindset about the world. This is why I love Judaism. Thank you.
Turn to page 7. Shema is listening, and sometimes we just got to listen. You know, not judge or label or, sort of jump to what our response is. I've learned that a lot over the years. So we have to sing the Shema to remind us to keep listening, because there's more to come. So if it's your custom to stand as you sing, recite the Shema, you may stand. It's also customary in many Jewish communities to stay seated. You certainly can do what feels right for you, but together we'll be singing this song through all of our differences. We are truly echad, one.
We are one. We are one. We are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai. Eloheinu Adonai Echad
Please be seated. Dryden.
Writing about my Jewish journey is a little strange because I'm an atheist now. This was not something that came suddenly. It was because of my love of science. The idea of a creator deity doesn't make any sense with the evidence of how the universe was created. It doesn't mix with the idea of an afterlife.
You talk about taking your mask off?
Huh?
You could take your mask off.
That would do. I could be convinced that these things that God exists, but I would have to have a lot of evidence. There's a quote I have here, but as Bertrand Russell said, if I were to suggest that between the Earth and Mars there is a teapot circling in orbit, if I went and added that you can't see it, then no one could disprove me. But that's ridiculous. Okay, I can't.
You can read Dryden's really amazing and powerful essay on the pages. And we're continuing with Ben.
When I was 12, I had a mini bar mitzvah service at the wall in Israel. My mom was crying, and I remember thinking, "Mom, stop crying, this isn't the real one." Before that day, I did not understand the significance in being Jewish. But after my bar mitzvah, and especially recently, I started to do research on the conflicts in Israel and digging into how the hate against Jews came to be. As I've still not found an answer, I have learned a lot more about Judaism, and I've become prouder about being Jewish, especially learning that there are only 14.7 million Jews in the world, or 0.2% of the world's population. Having a service at the wall was very special to me, and has stuck with me in these past 4 years, because even though I learned all these Jewish traditions in America, I used them in the most Jewish place on earth. And out of all the research about the hate in and around Israel, I have a peaceful and special memory right there in Israel, as that will stay with me as I practice Judaism independently and make sure that my kids and family in the future will understand the significance in being Jewish.
Okay. There have been times when I've been ashamed to be Jewish. There have been times when I've realized that some closed-minded people think that the only aspects of being Jewish are chanting Hebrew, wearing yarmulkes, and getting bar mitzvahed. I've realized over the past few years that anti-Semitism is more prevalent than I'd been taught that it is. However, due to a strong connection with my Jewish community, I've been able to define my Jewish identity as so much more than just the stereotypes. Ever since I've been younger, I've never really been open about being Jewish. In fact, some of my close friends don't even know I'm Jewish. There have been times when I've had a Jewish-related event but have lied to people and said that it was something else. The main reason for this was because I never wanted people to view me as different and was nervous that people would jump to conclusions about me. The first time that anti-Semitism truly became a reality for me was on the day of my bar mitzvah, August 12th, 2017. While I was standing on the bima chanting my Torah portion, hundreds of people in Charlottesville, North Carolina were marching down the streets chanting, "Jews will not replace us." Since then, comments and phrases I've heard like "Jew girl," "Thanks to the Jews," "Her house looks like a Jewish house," Yummies, and My Foot is Hitler and The Snow is the Jews, before proceeding to stomp the snow, and more, have been like daggers stabbing me in the heart. The truth is, though, it hasn't necessarily been the comments that have made me upset. It's been the fact that these comments have reinforced the idea in my head that anti-Semitism exists and that many people around us have anti-Semitic views, whether we know it or not. These reinforcing comments have been a driving factor of why I don't always like to tell people that I'm Jewish. Throughout the past few years, I've had to reshape what being Jewish has meant to me because it's become so much more than lighting the candles on Friday night and eating challah. I've been able to reassess my Judaism by connecting with other Jewish people, like at my Jewish camp, Sabra, Jewish friends around St. Louis, and CRC confirmation classmates. One defining moment of my Jewish journey was going to Washington, D.C. with my confirmation class, learning that Jews have been an active part of history and still continue to make a change in our society today. These connections have not only made me realize that there are amazing people who are Jewish, but have also helped me to appreciate little aspects of Judaism, like hearing Andrew and Leslie sing the all too familiar tunes at high holiday services. My Jewish identity has changed a lot over the past few years, and I'm sure that it will continue to change throughout my whole life. But for now, I've learned not to take for granted my happy Jewish moments, because they will forever be what makes me not feel ashamed. Thank you.
As I said, fragile world, but we have each other. So I'm taking a little personal privilege. Page 11. The one thing I want you guys to know really is that even though I said that confirmation is the end of formal Jewish learning, it's not goodbye. And we want you to stay as connected to CFC as you go off and graduate high school in just a couple of years or less, as you're in college and beyond. This is your Sukkot Shalom, shelter of peace. Each and every single one of you, those of you that are here tonight, the confirmation students that are not here, this is your Sukkot Shalom. We do this because of you, because we love you. And as I said, we're not done yet. We're still going to New York together. But I hope you feel a sense of peace, and that you feel a sense of peace, and that everybody, near and far, those we know and those we don't, feel the sukkah of Sukkot extending over them and over us in this very challenging time. We can use as much shelter, as much love, as much peace as we can muster. This soul living in my skin and bones. Take this soul and let it sing. Yahweh, Yahweh, always pain before a child is born. Yahweh. Dark before the dawn. Hashkivenu, here we go. Hashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu, Shalom, V'hamidenu, Shomeinu, L'chaim. Hashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu, Shalom, V'hamidenu, Shomeinu. us to lie and rise in peace. Sing with us. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Allow us to lie and rise in peace. Shalom. Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim. Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shoreinu l'chaim. That too. Everything's gonna be to the heavens. Everything's gonna be all to the earth. Everything's gonna be all. Ufrosalenu sukkah, sukkah shlomecha. Ufrosalenu sukkah, shlomecha, and cover over us tonight with a sukkah shalom. A shelter of peace for you, for those you love. Shelter of peace around the whole world, all creation, everyone and everything we wish for, we pray for, we hope for. Peace. Amen.
It was difficult for me to write this because my Jewish identity is very personal. I think growing up in an area without many other Jews caused me to feel a distance between myself and the community. Being away from other Jewish people made me more proud to be Jewish, but it was also a strange experience. I became an educator for curious people, but also an outlet for edgy jokes. I love sharing my faith and traditions with my friends, but I missed out on a lot of experiences within CRC. The distance from the synagogue made it an entire day plan to come to an activity at the temple. A 2-hour event turned into a 4 or 5 hour trip. COVID-19 was a horrible experience, but it also allowed me to attend more meetings because they were online. And for a while, I did feel more connected to a community. The distance and newer connection helped me realize that there are many ways to be Jewish. For me, the core of Judaism is Tikkun Olam. I remember in 5th grade, it was my first year at CRC, and I was listening to someone talk about getting arrested at a protest, and I remember being in awe about it. I don't know for sure why, but I think I couldn't imagine believing so strongly in a cause that I would get arrested. I think the feeling of awe stuck with me. Every time I see someone standing against injustice, I automatically admire them. Eventually, I hope to be someone like that. I have always felt some responsibility for improving the world, and that fell within Tikkun Olam, before I even knew what it was. My family has been trying to do mitzvahs at least once a month. Whether it's giving time or money, I feel that we are making small improvements in the world. I also believe that Tikkun Olam is about self-improvement. Learning about your own faults and learning from them improves your own world and how you interact with it. Tikkun Olam influenced a lot of my future plans. My desire to major in environmental engineering in hopes of combating climate change, becoming more politically active, and improving myself, all while staying true to my Jewish identity.
From a very early age, Judaism was a significant part of my life. At 5 years old, I was enrolled at Reformed Jewish Academy, which would go on to become Saul Mirowitz Jewish Community School. From kindergarten to 8th grade, I would have services at school regularly. I read from the Torah for the first time in 3rd grade, and on top of that, I came here to CRC. I learned Hebrew, I memorized all of the prayers, and I went to more bar mitzvahs than I can count. However, what truly opened my eyes to what Judaism is was my trip to Israel in 8th grade. It wasn't anything as cliche as touching the kotel and having some sort of spiritual awakening, but it was in the people that I saw. Walking through the streets of Jerusalem, almost everyone I saw wore a kippah. And there's something very special when I sang and danced with absolute strangers on Shabbat. The only thing that brought us together was our Judaism. But this wasn't anything that I hadn't experienced before. Dancing with strangers in Israel reminded me of the countless times I've joined arms with people here at CRC at the end of services, or clapped and sung during the high holidays. My trip to Israel made me realize that Judaism is more than just a religion. Judaism is lighting candles on Shabbat with my family, and saying the same blessings over the candles surrounded by dozens of community members during services. It is going and lobbying my state representatives in DC with a great group of people, or volunteering at a soup kitchen. It is helping plant a community garden that helps feed the needy in our communities. To me, Judaism is prayer and song, and a relationship with God. But above all else, it is living the value, love your neighbor as yourself, and the attempt to leave the world better than you found it. Tikkun Olam, that Jewish goal of repairing the world, is a task that no single person can do. But I've been blessed to have so many opportunities to help do what I can to help others. As I move forward in my journey through Judaism and the much larger journey of life, I will be forever thankful for everyone here at CRC for being such a beautiful community that has inspired me to help others. Shabbat Shalom.
I think we're going to go right to Isabella.
All right.
Isabella, if you want, you can go next.
Huh?
If you're comfortable.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Isabella, and I'm going to talk about food and spirituality, about my Jewish journey. Okay. Food and spirituality have always been heavily intertwined for me throughout my life. Growing up, food was my love language. And it was what brought me and my dad. Dad, stand up. Everyone say hi, Ori. It was what healed me through my mother's chemo treatment, and with a perturbing sense, what made me helpless. In Jewish culture, you are raised to love your family dishes and to always indulge in food. To experience the braised brisket and roasted vegetables at Rosh Hashanah. To eat that one meal with a family friend you've never seen before, but you feel like it's family. Literally all of my family in Israel. Did not know I had that many cousins. Won't get into that. For me, my dad is the most inspiring foodie I know. He made me passionate about the spices, aromas, and the obvious chunks of coriander and yellow rice. Shakshuka and schnitzel, ice cream from my grandmother's fridge, my middle school cafeteria's grilled cheese, and matzo ball soup, Israeli salad with couscous, curries, and salutes of spicy broth. Being Israeli has taught me to be creative and to love my roots. Food from my dad's kitchen taught me the essence of Israeli ingenuity. My mom taught me about health. When she was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, she would have certain phases. Passionate phases. Green juice, zucchini noodles, gluten-free, vegan, non-GMO, homegrown, garden stuff, I don't know. Many people would say that this was toxic. A 7-year-old should not be exposed to such diets, but my mom made me feel clean. Living with my mom, my relationship with spirituality was about being in control of what happened in my life. This control turned into a toxic form of self-insecurity. From the point of sickness that my mom had, I gained a sense of guilt that I had never felt before, an urge to be perfectly perfect. Living with a sick parent wasn't easy. When I was 10, I didn't know who to turn to about my emotions. Thank God for my therapist. My mom had to be selfish, or else she would die. Wanting love from someone who is too tied up in their own sickness to love you first is tiring. At a young age, I gained a sense of independence. Making my own school lunches at like 7 in the morning, making sure my mom was up, stuff like that. I was still passionate about eating, but there was something in my heart that changed. I wanted to control what I ate so that I could minimize the mess in my life. This control further damaged and destructed my future teenage years. I know, dramatic. It's okay. I would go through periods of eating very little, eating till my stomach hurt as well. I no longer enjoyed eating as pleasure, but as a sense of control and stress relief. My family didn't notice that much. It seemed to be as much of a happy person as I was before the passing of my mom. It was internal. The explosions of flavor and experience were no longer there. I was eating food to fill a void in my life. The void was nothing connected to Judaism as it was in the past. Judaism used to bring food, family, and familiarity to me. But now, I had lost the joy of my favorite memories because I was so focused on controlling everything around me to be perfect. Perfection is, okay, anyone under the age of 13, close your ears. Bullshit. I won't say that I haven't moved on from my eating problems, but I've had an enlightening about this so-called perfection I deem to succeed at. If I was to be perfect, I would probably die. And trust me, I almost did. I had a plan to kill myself in January, and I was admitted to the hospital. And if it wasn't for things I pushed away to be perfect, I would have missed out on having laugh attacks with my best friend. I was way too close. Joining USY and meeting new people, connecting closer with my dad, having snuggle parties with my dog Dibs, training to become a dental assistant, my grandma blowing out the Hanukkah candles as if they were birthday candles, my cousin Arel and I playing a game of makeshift soccer in the living room, the awkwardness of preteen bar and bat mitzvahs, and discovering that I loved to dance. Eating borekes and freshly squeezed orange juice in the morning with my dad and grandparents in Kiryat Yam, Israel. Playing games and slurping ramen noodles with my cousin Jay and Sam. Getting to join USY and make new friends. Going to be a camp counselor at Camp Sabra and playing the ultimate Jewish geography while laughing till my stomach hurt. Practicing my Torah portion before school in the Commons because I'm a procrastinator. My most petty moment being at the end of Hebrew school during carpool, where I wouldn't get out of the back seat when someone didn't want to sit in the front. Sorry, Eddie. Changing diapers at the nest for a week and tolerating some pretty awesome toddlers who have a bit too much energy. I still love it, though. Thanks, Maxine. Showing up in an athletic legging t-shirt dress combo to my bat mitzvah. Dad, how did you ever let me out of the house looking like that? Getting to stand up on this stage for the 3rd time. I love you, CRC. Thanks for the memories I won't forget.
Hi, as I said, I'm Izzy. My Hebrew name Avigail was the first piece of Judaism in my life. I grew up celebrating and loving Jewish holidays, especially Rosh Hashanah, and the ideas that were taught alongside it, as well as the sweet treat of Eckert's apples and honey. Hebrew school was a time to create friendships while also connecting myself to my family and its history. My bat mitzvah was the most significant part of my journey so far and was where I learned most of my prayers to use for the rest of my life. I'm so grateful for the Jewish community. CRC has given me so many opportunities to perform mitzvahs in my community and make lifelong connections through Judaism. In the future, I hope to continue my journey with Jewish groups in college and through JSU at my high school. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Hi, I'm Delilah. When I was little, I knew I was Jewish. My family celebrated all the high holidays and traditions, and I knew what to say when lighting the candles on Hanukkah. I knew I was Jewish, but I never really cared. It wasn't until May 11th, 2019, when I started loving it. My bat mitzvah taught me how proud I am to be a Jew. My bat mitzvah taught me how important my community at CRC is and how being Jewish is one of the biggest ways I identify myself. Most Jewish kids grow up preparing for their bar or bat mitzvah. I had no clue. When I was 12, I had attended several bar and bat mitzvahs. I asked my family if it was possible for me to get bat mitzvahed. I knew it was late, but I loved looking at the way the congregation came together to celebrate the coming of age of another Jewish kid. I wanted to be that Jewish kid. They said it would be tough, but if I worked hard, I may be able to do it. In order to have a bat mitzvah as a kid who had quit Sunday school in the 2nd grade and never learned another word of Hebrew, I had to take weekly Hebrew lessons and schedule my bat mitzvah a year late because at the time I was in 7th grade, but wouldn't have been ready until 8th grade. I was still 13 though, so. It took a lot of hard work, but by the date my big day was scheduled, May 11th, I was ready. It was one of the most moving days of my life. The sanctuary was packed with friends, family, and even congregation members I didn't know. I felt so loved and so accepted standing in the front of the room chanting words from the Torah. The most meaningful part of the service was the way my family was involved. My grandpa, Papa Tom, was able to hold the Torah and pass it down to me, which was amazing. He died a year later, and I will forever be grateful he was there to watch, and hopefully I made him proud. Ever since that day, I've been able to make connections with the people in my community and learn more about the Jewish faith. I love being Jewish because I know I will always have a family, and I know exactly where I belong.
Aren't they awesome? So in a moment, I'm going to have the students leave the bima here and either sit with their families. Some of them have to go. They're juniors now, and it's a busy fall, and there's events happening at school. But we had to sing Lechi Lach. Sang it at some of your baby namings. We sang it at your consecration for those of you that were here and started religious school here at CRC. Some of your bar and bat mitzvahs. And it's about going off on a journey, which we do every single day, really. But this journey you're going off on is a really significant one. A couple more years of high school, then off to college. And I know for a fact that you guys will go forth and be a blessing. Sing it to these guys, all right? Like this.
All your days.
Chaim means to joyful and happy life. How about as everyone stands up, put your arms over these students. You guys can stand up too. Receive the blessings of your community, your parents, your family. CRC. Here we go. Ready? Put your arms over them. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Like that. You guys keep putting your arms around each other. Picture perfect. There we go. Here we go. Ready? You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Please be seated 1 second. Rabbi Daniel, you want to send them off? The students, not everybody.
I love you all. Isn't this just an amazing group of young people, right? Rabbi Karen wanted me to apologize, by the way, for not making it to ice skating. That was you all remember that in DC? As Rabbi Randy said, right before the pandemic, right at the beginning of it, actually, as Maura Maxine said, excuse me, we went to DC. We went and lobbied and worked to make this world a better place. And we didn't quite know what this pandemic was going to be, right? The wipes that we used all over the plane, thinking that was going to keep us safe. Even though I have memories of some of you lying down on the escalators through DC. It was really... But the truth of it is, for this last year and a half, right, and it's been a year and a half, that trip with you all has been such a source of life and of light for me. As things got tough, I could think back to those last moments before the world changed and know that somehow, no matter what a job those of us who are older have done, and God knows we have not done the job we should have. God knows we have not given you all the world that we should have. We have not created the world we should have. We have not changed the world in the ways that we needed to. That when I get lost in those places, I remember you all in DC. And I remember you all walking up to Congress people and speaking real truth to real power. And so I hold on to that. I hold on to that when it's tough to find the blessing, when it's tough to feel the blessing in this world, I know that that's you all. I know that you all are that blessing. You are that blessing to us. You are that blessing to me. You are that blessing to CRC and to this whole world. So I know you all are going to go on to do amazing, beautiful, incredible things. I know the world is better because each of you are in it and each of you spoke your Torah so beautifully and so powerfully tonight, each one of you, really. And so thank you. Thank you all for being you, for being the neshamas that you are. I hope whenever you are back in CRC, that you will always know that when you walk through these doors, you walk into a space where you are loved, where you are treasured, and where there's a lot of people who are cheering you on. Shabbat Shalom, y'all.
Daniel, I thought you turned the microphone off, like a mic drop or something. But we do want to make sure we save time for Kaddish, for those of you who would like to say Kaddish for a loved one, and for those of you streaming who would like to say Kaddish. And so just really quickly, tomorrow morning, as I said, is not only consecration, but is our celebration of Simchat Torah. Even though Simchat Torah is not until early next week or mid next week, Shabbat is our day of gathering, so we're going to do the Klezuntites, and we're going to do the Hakafot, and we're going to, just like we had confirmation tonight, we'll have consecration for the little kids tomorrow. That's the main thing. There is going to be a Sukkot picnic on Sunday, a day after tomorrow, at 5 o'clock, open to everyone in the community. Bring your own picnic. There's our sukkah. And there's going to be a Kona shaved ice machine from 6 to 7. So come on over for that. But now, would like to ask those of you who are here to say Kaddish for a loved one to please stand. We want to recognize you and hear the names of the people you're remembering. I know there's people at home who are streaming, who are also wanting to remember people in their lives. So is that Sarah Marks?
Yes.
Oh, Sarah, welcome back. Welcome back. It's been how many months? 6 months with your mom of blessed memory, taking care of her, and oh my gosh. Back on a Friday night, where else to be in St. Louis? So go ahead and let us know. You're saying Kaddish for. May her memory be a blessing. And the Mungos. Yeah, thank you. We're thinking about you guys. And in back. Up and back. A blessed memory. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And in back. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. And over here. Thank you. We remember them. And in the corner. Thank you. Any names? The Melser family, yes, our, Rachel's parents, yep. Ali Booker, Claire Booker, Eric Burrell, Deborah Hill. So now let's ask everyone to stand together.
Randy?
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. Yep.
It's not my mother's yard site, but her birthday was yesterday. She would have been 98.
Lois's birthday, yeah. If Lois was here with us, she'd put her birthday in the Jewish light.
Oh, she would.
Right?
And Andrew.
I'm going to go ahead and stand for my dad. It's Mondays.
Yeah, no, I was going to read your dad's name.
Thank you.
Gene. Monday's his yard site, and I'll never forget visiting him and giving him the priestly blessing.
It's still a big deal, my
Yeah,
man.
never forget it. So, and love to your mom. Going to add a few names that we're remembering as a community. It is the yard site of Charles McCurry, who is Angela McCurry's father, and Rose Goldman. Is Maxine still here? Maxine, your grandmother of blessed memory. Alfred Hollander, Bob Hollander, who's a Friday night regular when we're not having a pandemic. Alfred is Bob's dad of blessed memory. It's also the yard site of Theodora Lazarus, Alice Block's mother, and Jean Bollinger, Andrew's dad, and Dina Bornstein. Dina Bornstein was Mindy Bergwitz's mom. Some of you know Mindy. For many years, I drove Dina to CRC on every Friday night when I did services. She lived, I don't remember all the names of those places, but on McKnight, probably McKnight Place. What's that? Thank you, Brentmore. So I would pick her up, and this happened for years, and she started calling me in front of Amy. She said, "I'm Randy's Friday wife." That's a true story. Jack Shapiro, Papa Jack, Debbie Polinsky's father, who I knew very well, and Ida Enton, Harriet Enton's dear mother. And then some of the recent losses in our congregation and members in the past year. Just recently, Beatrice Daniel, who was Hillary Engelhardt's mother and Steve's mother-in-law, just passed away. And they're coming back tomorrow. And of course, Steve lost his own mother just months ago. Very difficult time for the Engelhardts. Dana Krall, a young woman who died in Los Angeles, and I did the Shiva for her in St. Louis just the other night. For Judy Hunter, who was Tim's mother and Robin's mother-in-law. For Linda Holtzman, a member of CRC and Alex's mom. For Bernard Davis, who was Laura Davis's father and Todd Oberman's father-in-law. For Allison Abbotts and Josie Abbotts, the daughter and the granddaughter of Linda and Marty. For Joan Zucker, who was the grandmother of Joe Essman and the late Susie Essman's mom. For Suzanne Cooperman Gill, who was a cousin of Diane Meyer. And then for members, Karen Margot and Andrew Rockman. For Judge Roberta Hitt, who lived just down the street with her husband David, who was here at Yizkor the other day. For Andy Neiman, a wonderful young man. Just a sad and tragic story, and we love him and miss him. For Marie Elaine Nicholson, who was the mother of Beth Roberts, and her granddaughter Hannah's bat mitzvah is coming up in October. For Alex Hochberg, a young man and a member of CRC and the son of Steve and Gail. For Gail Hollefeld, who is Jill Hollefeld's mother. Dan Sokol, a longtime member of CRC and Rose Lynn's husband. For Orietta Cohen, Lucy Ann Cohen's mother and Kurt's mother-in-law. Michael Kiernan, a wonderful dad and husband of Deborah Catan. And for Emily Engelhardt, Steve's mom and Hillary's mother-in-law. And for our member Robert Fauser, and for our member Jack Oglander, Vicky's husband and Tali's father, and the grandfather, the pop of Levi and Isaac and Micah. And Isaac's bar mitzvah is coming up in the next cycle. For Louis Myers and Lizzie Pressberg. And I know Nancy, somebody just passed away today. Will you say her name? Excuse me? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And so with all of their names and all of their memories, we say together this ancient prayer that helps us just for the moment bring them right back here into our hearts and souls, all of them, kind of like they're ushpizin, like they're guests in our sukkah, who we've loved and lost, but still are connected to with all of our soul. So on page 18, we say together the words of our Kaddish for our loved ones who have passed away. Yit kadal v'yit kadash shemei rabba, be'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chai echon u'v'yom echon u'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalav v'zman kari v'emru amen. Yehei shemei rabba mivarach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithale v'yithalal shmei dekudisha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al say Shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen, ve'imeru amen, ve'imeru amen.
Amen. So I want to ask it to the extent that you're comfortable, we want to make sure everyone feels comfortable to put your arms over one another, around each other in your families and pods, if you want to kind of knock elbows there. But we definitely want to make sure before we leave that we're connected to each other in some way, shape, or form. We put our arms over our confirmation students just a bit ago, but now we put our arms around each other. Thank you for being here, for our students, for Shabbat, for Sukkot, to just enjoy being in a sacred place. And it's sacred because we made it so. And do love you all. For the students that are still here, thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll have news about New York coming up. And there you go. And here's our blessing for each other. Right from the Torah, it says, Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless and keep each and every single one of you, those you love, and all. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May the light from nature, the lights that's shining in my eyes from this tent, the light from within each of us, because we all have a light, and you saw the light that each of our students have. Comes out in really different ways, like the rainbow, but it's light all the same. And, the divine light, however you define that, however the kids define it, that which is bigger than ourselves, that binds us together, may all of that light help us feel more safe and warm and, God willing, healthy and loved. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shalom, peace and wholeness and love and righteousness and joy and goodness. Sukkot is Zman Simchatenu, a time when we try really hard, despite it all, to feel joy, to let nature and each other guide us to joyfulness. Our students that got confirmed tonight guided us to joyfulness. You all are a source of joy to me. So may you have peace in your homes, in your hearts, in your communities, in your neighborhoods, and God willing soon, because we stood here as a witness to a lot of truths tonight. May there be more peace, more shalom, more love and wholeness throughout all creation. Let us say amen. And Shabbat Shalom. And Chag Sameach, Happy Sukkot. Thanks, everybody. How about a little nigun to carry us out?
Ya la la la, ya la la la. Shamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם בני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני אל השמיים ואל הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם לדורותם ברית עולם.
Sarah, Shabbat Shalom.
Sarah, welcome home.
Yeah, it's great to see you.